Dear colleagues, welcome back to the second session of the DEVCO committee meeting. We would have had the presentation from the Smart Working Group, DEVCO Vice Chair, Mr. Abdul Rahman, to present on the Smart Working Group. Abdul Rahman, please present the update.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Chair. Before starting this presentation, just allow me to thank again Standards Australia and the government of Australia for the hospitality. It is a pleasure to be here again with all fellow NSBs. So this presentation about the DEVCO Smart Working Group. So the purpose of this presentation is to provide DEVCO members with an update about this ISO DEVCO Smart Working Group, which was put together after the ISO General Meeting last year in Abu Dhabi that recommended to have under the DEVCO a working group to work through helping developing countries to get on board about the ISO and IEC SMART initiative. So in Abu Dhabi, the 56th DEVCO meeting approved the establishment of a working group on ISO SMART via the resolution 6/2022 to strengthen the engagement of developing countries in a SMART program. As you know, ISO and IEC had put together an initiative about smart standard. So we did a call for nomination to have members under this working group, and the ISO Central Secretariat prepared terms of reference with criteria for the selection of the members of the ISO DEVCO Smart Working Group, which terms of reference was approved by the DEVCO chair. We, members of DEVCO proposed candidates to be part of the ISO Smart Working Group. So we got the CV of the nominees, but also statement of their motivation, but also their level of knowledge and interest about SMART standards. The DEVCO Secretariat reviewed the application that we've got. So we've got 12 applications from 11 countries. And from that, today we have members from all these countries. We have Switzerland, Thailand, South Korea, France, India, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Indonesia, Kenya, Senegal, and Singapore. So, which makes it a total of 12 applications. As you can see, we have under this membership a mix of developed but also developing countries. We cover the 5 different geographical regions, and we have 8 members from NSBs, 2 members from industry, so the end users, and 1 member from academia. And about gender balance, we have 3 female and 9 male. It's not that balanced yet. We hope that we will get better in that end. So the ISO DEVCO Smart Working Group had so far two working group meetings and a workshop. The first working group meeting was the kickoff meeting, which was held on March 28th this year. So a closed group was created under the ISO Global Directory, like we do for ISO technical committees. After the kickoff meeting, we've had a follow-up meeting in May. It was mainly to update working group members on the Smart ISO IEC initiatives, and our working group members were also invited to enhance their engagement in the Smart initiative, and we have asked them to submit a user story and also to see if possible to get involved in the pilot phase of the Smart program. After that second follow-up meeting, we saw the need to strengthen the knowledge of the members of the working group about the ISO IEC Smart initiative. So we decided to have an interactive workshop, which workshop was held in July. And at that workshop, the aim was to acquire more information about the Smart program, but also learn from other NSB about their journey towards Smart. And I take this opportunity to thank members from France, AFNOR, but also Brazil, ABNT, who gladly shared their journey towards Smart standard. It was also an opportunity to increase involvement of ISO members in the Smart program and listen to the voice and thought of the working group members about Smart standard. So the key takeaway that we got from that workshop was, firstly, we realized that the end user experience is still the main concern about Smart standard. How is it going to impact the end users of standard? And we realized that to be able to have that information, we need to understand how the end user will respond, and will respond until there is more detailed information on Smart standard, because until now, some of us don't quite understand what we mean about Smart standard, what is this Smart initiative. Some are scared to get engaged because they think it's something that is not reachable yet. So we need to have more information about that. And ISO members also should share information on the IEC ISO Smart program with their stakeholders and keep them informed. The third takeaway was that XML can be a first step towards developing Smart standards. We got that it is a useful means of transforming content in data, which means for now, we have our standard in PDF format mainly, and using the XML will facilitate the extraction of the useful information from those standards and make them available to the end user. The first point was that DEVCO members need to seek additional clarifications from ISO, guidance and support on the technical implementation of Smart. And for that, the Secretariat prepared a guidance note toward SMART, um, which was circulated among the members of the working group. And the fifth one was that capacity building and sharing case studies from ISO members can inspire and demonstrate to others what they need to do on their digital transformation journey. But firstly, to know that wherever you are at, when you are using digital tools, you are doing smart. You just need to assess where you are at and what you need to do to be at the level you want to be. So those were the information we wanted to share with you quickly about the DEVCO Smart Working Group. So if you have any questions, we are here to give some element of response. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Do we have any questions on the floor? The question.
Sadvir Basun, SABS. Just an area around the guidance notes. And this question is probably very open-ended, but in your assessment and having engaged with the working group members on the guidance notes, is that sufficient at this stage that will provide an element of understanding, maybe understanding, but the actual implementation of ISO IEC Smart? And what else do you think should be included as part of this developing country program? Thank you.
Thank you, Sadvir, thank you. Well, the guiding notes provide basically explanation and clarification about the smartification, what we call smartification, which goes from content creation, from the standard we have right now. The thing to understand here is that with the standard we have, we can start our smartification process by seeking ways of extracting the essentials, like the essential information about the standard and make them available to the end user so that we facilitate the implementation of standards. And now what we really need to understand, like I was saying during the presentation, is that when we talk about smart standard, it's not like the ultimate goal is to have like machine readable standards, but we can do smart with the current standard we have right now. It can be using social media, for example, to circulate the requirements in a standard, or the purpose of the standard, and give to the end user the essential information that they need to know to be able to implement the standard.
Thank you, Abdurrahman. Any more questions? I want to encourage us that the only way we can embark on the journey is participate. So therefore, indulge with the capacity building group to be a part of this discussion, this transformation of digitization. If there are no other questions, we will move on to the roundtable discussion for the PDC chairs, agenda item number 9. As you know, the ISO Policy Development Committee, PDC, such as DEVCO, were established to promote dialogue among ISO members and advise the Council. There are 2 other PDCs in the ISO system. In addition to DEVCO, there is CASCO, the Committee on Conformity Assessment Matters, and COPOLCO, the Committee on Consumer Matters. In recent years, there has been an increase in convergence of the areas covered by the PDCs. To ensure alignment and synergies between these 3 groups, regular quarterly meetings have been taking place to discuss issues of common interest. This year's meeting provides us with the opportunity to engage with the PDC chairs on a subject matter that has strong connections for all 3 groups and high importance for developing countries. That is the circular economy. Now, why is the circular economy so important? The answer is simple. The way we produce and consume goods is a problem. It is even more so that we are in the decade of the action to achieve the SDGs. According to the United Nations Environment Programme, more than 100 billion tons of resources enter the global economy each year. Of these resources, only 9% gets recycled and used again, with the rest ending up as waste. These figures are not entirely surprising because our linear economic system is based on producing, consuming, and disposing. It may not be surprising, but this system is unsustainable in a world with finite resources. The circular economy is the alternative. It is a system that can reduce waste, help reuse products and materials, and provide time needed to regenerate the natural ecosystem. It is also one of the significant means by which we can counter the effects of climate change. With almost all sectors and industries either directly or indirectly threatened by the effects of climate change, the circular economy can provide solutions to today's unsustainable production and consumption patterns. This is an area that needs standards, conformity assessment to deliver part of the solution. So, the purpose of today's session is to discuss the different perspectives and identify synergies between the 3 PDCs to advance the circular economy concept in their respective activities. The session aims to share the following knowledge. Embracing the circular economy in developing economies is a means to ensure sustainable development, protect the environment, foster economic growth through upskilling, retraining, and enhance social well-being while addressing unique challenges. It will also strengthen consumer confidence is essential for driving the adoption of circular economy practices, ensuring sustainable consumption patterns, and promoting a more environmentally conscious society. Finally, performed in the context of the circular economy, conformity assessment tools offer and demonstrate that specifications are met and thereby provides trust and confidence to the market and governments and consumers on specific aspects of circularity such as safety, efficiency, repairability, durability, and upgradability, recyclability, and reusability, all of which contribute to the robustness of the circle. I now introduce Sadie Danton, the COPOLCO chair, for her opening speech. Sadie, please.
Thank you very much, Julia, and I'm very pleased to be able to join you at this year's DEVCO meeting. Unfortunately, I was unable to make the last year's meeting, but I was ably replaced by my vice chair, Ansu Moon. So I thank her for her representation and Kat's for their support. COPOLCO, ISO's Consumer Policy Committee, has over 130 NSB members. It's actually free to join, so anyone who isn't a part of COPOLCO, you are very welcome to join us. In 2022, renewed its structure to align and support ISO Strategy 2030, developing capacity in our members to engage consumer and societal stakeholders in standards of development, and to ensure all voices are heard, so that our standards remain relevant, robust, and credible. Raising awareness through national networks of the potential of standards to deliver consumer protection, to inform public policy, and to inspire and empower organizations to protect the planet's 8.1 billion consumers, of which 25% are currently under 15. So it's so important to protect its essential resources for future generations. Many key ISO standards were born in Capolco. ISO 26000, the 10,000 series customer service, and ethical claims were all initiated in Capolco. More recently, standards for privacy by design of consumer goods and services, consumer vulnerability, and menstrual products were all initiated by consumer stakeholders through Capolco. DEVCO members are an integral part of Capolco, identifying and proposing standards to drive responsible business practice and provide consumers access to safe and sustainable goods. The need for the ISO standard on cross-border second-hand goods emerged from the research in the Caribbean and national standards from Tanzania and Botswana. I hope we can pursue this work in Capolco. Warranties and guarantees came from Egypt and Malaysia, and Kenya's consumer expertise ensured the ISO on mobile payments included mobile transfer via text, ensuring that consumers in developing countries could transfer money by text and save the travel. All are essential standards to promote the use, reuse, and recycling phase of the circular economy. Then and now, Capolco has its focus on consumers being able to access safe, sustainable goods and services, to be informed by transparent, verifiable information, by influencing policy and participating in the standardization process. Capolco met recently at the 44th Capolco plenary, hosted by the Bureau of Indian Standards in New Delhi. Member bodies working with their consumer stakeholders, consumer protection agencies, and sustainability experts, explored how standards can help play their part in delivering the SDGs. Our workshop debated the challenges consumers face when accessing sustainable choices, and how standards could make this easier, safer, and better. Sheelina Bahala, MD of the International Council for Circular Economy, spoke of the importance of addressing the consumer use and recovery phase and designing out waste and pollution during the production process for standard. Nikki Stopford, chair of the BSI Consumer Forum, presented data from ICBEN. 40% of online green claims are exaggerated, false, or deceptive. Deloitte data, 48% of consumers say they don't have enough information, and 41% say it's too complicated to do. People want to live more sustainably, but affordability, apathy, confusion, and skepticism about corporate claims and commitments are a big barrier. It is essential for everyone to make efforts to include a rich diversity of stakeholders to the ISO standard setting process. The representation of consumer and societal groups is important to include in the circular economy standardization activities. They are the end users of products and services, and their perspectives are vital to the process. To make the circular economy effective, all organizations need to be aware and informed of the impact and benefit of standards, and of the Casco tools, which are vital for building organizations and society's trust and confidence. By understanding and listening to consumer stakeholder needs, behaviors, and experiences, and harnessing the wealth of international consumer policy experience and data, I believe that there is much potential for ISO standards to contribute much more to tackling climate change and the transition to net zero. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie, for bringing the consumer perspective to the discussion. Very important that our consumers are engaged and see the results in their new way of life. I now invite Reynaldo to speak to the Casco perspective and give his opening remarks.
Thank you, Julia. It's a pleasure to be here with and participate in this DEVCO meeting. I had the opportunity to participate last year as well when we talked about food safety. So my name is Reinaldo Figueiredo. I'm the ISO Casco chair, and the role of Casco, it's very clear in terms of the documents and policies that we develop relate to conformity assessment. And this also is going directly to some problems that exist today that we know about pollution, ecosystem collapse, decline in biodiversity, and many other things that we are aware of. With some data it's saying that by 2050, it is projected that the world will need 3 Earths in terms of resource if the demand that we have today continue this demand. So we need to put our efforts as the community in the standardization to see what is the solutions that we have for our problems today. That this problem's coming for some years already. So the solution, one of the solutions is the concept of circular economy. So how we, as standards developers, and ISO as well, we need to tackle this problem. In order to implement this concept of circularity, a fundamental restructuring in the manufacturing, in the process and service that the companies in the world provide today. So, as you can see, we have a huge challenge in front of us in the development of standards that's going to support for us to maintain this planet for future generations. Another point that I like to emphasize as well is in this circular economy, one of the concepts that you need to tackle and need to focus is in the design, because everything, it starts in the design, in the innovation. If you put this concept of circularity in the design, and we have the right standards that can support those efforts, is going to help us. One example is in the design, in the eco-design, is the LCA, life cycle analysis. And we have ISO standards in LCAs, because I'm sure many of you know about the environmental product declarations that list the GHG and many other outputs there. So standards are very, very important. So what is the role of the ISO standards plays in circular economy? So in terms of the conformity assessment tools that we have today, that we call ISO Casco Toolbox, it's 37 standards, not many standards, but our standards are, we need to be proud of that as well, because our standards are implemented and used by regulators, scheme owners, and private sectors when they focus on conformity assessment. So as example, in this journey that's already started in many countries, and we want to expand this to other countries as well, as example is the ISO 17025, the standard that those laboratories needs to have implemented in their structure to provide trustworthy results. The other one is 17065. That's the one for that give guidance and requirements for those certification bodies of product, process, and service. So we have the solutions on how to support circular economy with our standards. One point that I like to emphasize is that in terms of this process, what is called certification schemes, certification programs, or protocols, those documents are the fundamental importance for support this circularity. So we have the solutions. Maybe in the future, we need to develop some guidance in terms of how to use these schemes, and they are focused on circularity as well. So we have this opportunity now because it was approved last August. One of our documents is the ISO 17067. It's a guidance that provide requirements and guidance for scheme owners, regulators, and when they develop these conformity assessment programs, what they need to focus. I had the opportunity to, before the ISO Council meeting that was in Kanazawa in Japan, I had the opportunity to visit the Thai Industry Standards Institute, TISI, and they show me the work that they are doing in terms of the development of circular economy roadmap that they are in process to develop. This is one example. I'm sure many other standardization bodies that are here, you are doing this work as well. Just to close my point here, we as Casco, we develop a document. You can get this document in the ISO homepage. It's conformity assessment and circular economy. We have one group that called STAR, Strategic Alliance and Regulatory Group. This was during COVID, and we had success in developing this document, and I encourage you to read this document as well, because there are a lot of good things. And when I was in Thailand, they said, oh, this document helped us a lot when we start this work. So, as I made in my remarks, the use of conformity assessment in circular economy and the ISO Casco Toolbox is essential, and I encourage you to participate in the developments and revision of our documents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ronaldo, again for bringing us closer to the understanding of how circularity can be used and can help developing countries. We have the products that can be designed, and we have documents and guideline documents that help us to get us to that point. The collaborative efforts between the three PDCs can lead to the development of effective standards, policies, and strategies that can facilitate the transition to circular business models, promote sustainable consumption patterns, and empower developing countries to embrace circularity in their development journey. Through these common synergies, the ISO and its committees contribute to the broader global efforts towards achieving sustainable and inclusive growth while addressing environmental challenges. It is so important that as developing countries, we pick the path we are on and participate so that we can start the process to moving towards a more sustainable economy. I now open the floor for interaction and questions to the PDC chairs on how to implement and how the circular economy impact on us. Francesco, is there any online questions that you want to address?
There are no questions.
Oh, there are? Okay, there's a question, right?
Thank you very much, Chair. Belinda Kanchea from Zambia Bureau of Standards. My question goes to the CASCO Chair. Earlier, Eric from WTO did allude to the fact that there is need for standardization to actually be supported by the national quality infrastructure. And that also points to conformity assessment as relates to being able to demonstrate the conformity to the requirements of a standard. My question is, what is CASCO doing or planning? What are the initiatives that CASCO would put in place in relation to ensuring that the member bodies, the NSBs, engagement with the regulators, engagement with the private sector, to be able to strengthen conformity assessment capacities as relates to laboratories especially. I think there's need for us as we make strides in developing standards and promoting standardization to ensure that we also work or look at supporting conformity assessment as relates to laboratories. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much for your question. I think it's a good point that you mentioned. In terms of the work that we are doing in CASCO, is to strengthen the relationship that we have with our national middle committees, and also to see their needs in terms of the standards, in terms of the capacity building that they need to have to implement those standards in their quality infrastructure. So we have, with the capacity building program in ISO, doing training on those standards. The ISO CASCO toolbox, the one standard that you mentioned that's very important is the baseline for conformity assessment, 17025 for laboratories. We also have a program that we are engaging potential conveners in our working groups for them to be trained in the activities that CASCO is doing, and also to disseminate those processes that they learn in their countries. We have some liaison members that are association of conformity assessment bodies or international organizations that they have interest in conformity assessment, and we are with them also developing some planning on how to support our national mirror committees, because we think that for Casco to has more and more success, we need to have our national mirror committees with us in this journey. So please participate in the work of Casco, that I think we're going to provide the necessary guidance and document. It's not because I'm an ISO Casco chair that I'm here saying about the standards that we have. These are, as I said, it's just 37 standards, but if I go to any country in all the regions, there are regulators that use our standards. There are scheme owners that use our standards. There are companies, when they do self-declaration of their activities related to conformity assessment. So I think this point that you mentioned, it's important, and all these funds that ISO is receiving, I'm sure some of them is going to be direct to these needs of our members. And also, when you mention about the infrastructure, it's not only training. There is a need to have also the international institutions to support the infrastructure of the companies, of the countries, the banks, the developing banks that exist, investment developing bank that exists in our regions. They need to have that as priority to support developing countries in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronaldo. No more questions. We'll have a question online, Francesca.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We do have a question, actually, and it's for Sadie. Sadie, in your view, what is the role consumer organizations can play in driving circularity?
Thank you, Francesca. I think the really important thing that consumer organizations can bring into the circular economy is to bring the real data, the real use, and the issues of everyday people to the process. Because if you don't, if you don't represent the views and use of the consumers in their lives, you will miss out an important part of the circular economy. If the consumers don't use the products or don't use them as you expect, if they can't recycle the products, if they can't reuse the products because the infrastructure is not there or not designed into the process in the beginning, you can't have the circular economy because it will stop at this point. So it's vital to include the consumer's voice in each country, to elaborate their conditions and their needs in each country, to advocate for this to be included in the international process. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. There no other questions? Okay. Would you like to? Oh, there's another question.
Thank you very much for recognizing me. I am Bernard from Malawi Bureau of Standards. I have a comment and then a question. We need to mainstream the monitoring, evaluation, and learning in most of the programs that we have mentioned. Very good programs, and the component of monitoring, evaluation, and learning needs to come out very clearly in the programs with the clear timelines. One of the challenges that we often meet is the duplication of efforts. There are regional platforms that have similar initiatives as ISO DEVCO has. And I wanted to find out how is ISO DEVCO interacting with the regional initiatives that are in developing countries to facilitate trade, to protect the consumer among competing business interests. Thank you very much.
Eric, will you respond to that question?
Thank you, Chair. Bernard, thank you for your 2 points. Certainly on monitoring, evaluation and learning, the points are well taken. It's embedded in the results framework of the action plan for developing countries. I think it's good that you remind us of, it's always important as we look forward to also look back and learn from experiences. Around your second point on cooperation with regional standards organizations, certainly when we do the planning of capacity building activities, where it's appropriate, reach out to regional organizations. I can mention to you, last week, or 2 weeks ago, we actually in Cairo hosted a conformity assessment workshop for the countries of the Middle East and North Africa, and we did it together with the GSO, the Gulf Standards organizations. That's just one recent example of where we did this across Africa. We value the partnership with ARSO in particular, and whenever our Secretary General has discussions across the continent, very often, he has the Secretary General of ARSO also as part of those discussions. And then I can also mention COPANT, when we recently had consumer engagement policy workshops in Latin America. So it is important for us to also work with regional partners in the rollout of capacity building activities, where it also makes sense within the framework of the work that they do. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any other questions on the matter? Any other concerns, comments?
There are no
Francisco?
questions. No questions online, Chair.
With that, we can conclude this session. We thank Sadie and Ronaldo for their engaging discussions. And as we try to practice this circular economy concept, remember the consumer's input is important. We need to gather data to show that it's actually working for us. And CASCO, in terms of our NMCs and our public policy, we can provide support to get this done. So we thank you, colleagues, for their contribution. We now would move to agenda item number. Thank you. Agenda item number. Thank you. Dear members, as you know, all technical work in the ISO system is carried out under the overall management of the Technical Management Board, the TMB. It is a DEVCO tradition for the Secretary of the TMB to update the DEVCO on an annual basis on matters of special interest to developing countries. I'm pleased to invite the TMB Secretary, Mr. Marco Rosier, to provide an update on the TMB activities and the ISO Smart Farming Coordinating Committee.
Thank you, Chair. It is a privilege to be here to present you the activity of the Technical Management Board and, more broadly, our technical community. As you know, standards are used everywhere. Even the very sound intensity of this microphone has been calibrated upon ISO standards, so to say, how many we have. And of course, the technical community, 716 committees, and right now, 4,500 running projects. So I won't be able to do justice to all of them in those few minutes here. I need to cherry pick something. But of course, let's recognize the amount of work that our community is doing every day, every year. All right. So, first of all, the new areas of work. So the creation of new committees in the last 12 months. First of all, sustainability and event management. I mean, event like this one, we have hundreds of thousands of events every year across the world. Imagine if every single one of them would comply to our standard of sustainable events. That would make a huge difference in terms of sustainability and progress for all aspects of an event, logistics, energy, consumables, waste, and so on. So that's a very, very important piece of work. Innovative logistics, which is the service layer across the logistics supply chain. Think about COVID, all the disruption we had in supply chain, how much data smart data processing across the supply chain or the logistic chain would help to prevent disruption of the supply chain. Very important piece of work led by SAC. A management system for the UN SDG, a newly created project committee for that. As you know, companies strive to comply to the SDGs, which of course is a very broad area, of course. It's basically everything we want to achieve at once, and yet we need to help them with some instrument to make it operational in running a company, actually, literally. So that's a very challenging endeavor in conjunction, in cooperation with UNDP. It's an extremely important piece of work. Management consultancy, of course, another very transversal piece of work. Specialty metals and minerals, that is one of the areas of work determined by the work on critical minerals that we had on the Strategic Advisory Board the year before. We'll see something about that later on. And finally, sanitation system. Again, extremely important for remote areas where they don't have necessarily the infrastructure for sanitation systems. So as you see, a lot of new work answering global needs, very spot on different areas as we do in ISO. So let's be proud of that. Strategic project. As you know, our strategy is very articulated in several areas and goals. Some of them are in the remit of the TMB specifically. So two of them, one pointing at goal number 2 and delivering standards when we need them, when the market needs them, and capture future opportunity of standardization. Two such projects. One is the Committee Strategic Management Project, which is meant to rethink the way committees design their strategic planning, okay, the mid and long-term projection, not the daily work, the daily projects, but rather how the TC sees its own roadmap and its own, let's say, vision at TC level. We have witnessed that many practices were around in the field, some state-of-the-art, maybe something to be revised, and therefore we said, why don't we get clarity on this process and taking the best in class and share that knowledge across the committees. And secondly, the optimized deliverables. This is a very, very important project. We have got the same deliverables, so publications, let's say, since a long time, doing a good job, and yet every now and then it is important to reconsider what we do, to step back for a second and see what are we publishing, for which audience, how long does it take to do the job. We have international standards, publicly available specification, report specification, and so on. So we are thinking of what are we publishing, for whom, and how long does it take, and all the opportunities to make this development track better and more efficient, of course, which is clearly a market demand, more and more so as we go, as things are accelerating. And also, as a collaboration and joint work between TMB and Council through, of course, CSC SPM representative, the ISO Open Consultation Project. That's a very, very ambitious project to reach out way beyond our galaxy and to get input on the needs and the necessity of standardization in fields that we don't necessarily have the right visibility. I think we can all see that in some areas we are on the leading edge. We are the de facto reference and the leader in terms of, let's say, market share between brackets, in terms of penetration usage. In others, maybe not so. So how do we get to answer those needs in areas where we don't necessarily reach the right people, the right stakeholders. So that's what the open consultation tries to answer. It's very important to be something jointly between Council and TMB, because there is a dimension which is really going very far on key decision maker, high clearance decision maker beyond our ecosystem, but also recognize that on the technical community we have the strategic advisory group methodology, which has produced good results. So let's have an assessment of the state of the art of the advisory groups at the same time in which we consider this open and broad consultation. And I personally believe that it's going to be the source of some good surprises and something really, really new and systemically new for ISO. And then some selected TMB group. Once again, our work plan is so intense that I am obliged to pick some of them. One, critical minerals. Okay, no need to tell you how critical minerals are as such, from mining to recycling. So the Strategic Advisory Group has delivered a long list of recommendations. I won't go into the details, but long story short, the technical community have taken a broad view, a bird's eye view on the critical minerals, from chemical analysis, the taxonomies, classification, and so on, to really produce a work which is coherent and coordinated across all the committees that deal with minerals, particularly critical minerals, which in itself is a definition that must be explicit, including the creation of a coordination committee, a new IWA proposal on sustainability in critical minerals, and joint works, and a guidance, so a full package of initiatives to coordinate properly and advance the work in critical minerals. And smart farming. That again, crucial piece of work. The report has been delivered last year about, more specifically, data-driven agri-food business, so from the crop to what we buy at a grocery shop or at a restaurant. Very important. Why data-driven? Because one of the key, let's say, axes to made the optimization of the supply chain possible, to deploy new technology better, to share sustainability data across the supply chain more efficiently, is by having data structures, data standards that allow this information to flow across the value chain, from small players for developing countries to advanced economy, vice versa, all through the shipping routes and the harbors and also the machinery involved. Data should flow seamlessly across all this chain, hence the importance of this piece of work. Chairs community managers of the relevant EC, of course, has been invited, as well as the leadership, but the report has been approved by the TMB. Some of the resolution will be more relevant for DEVCO, and that is why the coordination committee created as one of the resolution of the SAG. We warmly invite DEVCO to be there. It's utterly fundamental. Already at the level of the work of the advisory group, it was clear that developing countries, but also vertical categories like SMEs, for instance, small farmers, are crucial to engage a whole global supply chain efficiently and sustainably when it comes to designing the agri-food supply chain and economy more broadly. So please come forward with your candidates, and it will be right away part of the team. And finally, last but not least, the Climate Action Plan. After the London Declaration, the technical community took responsibility of part of the broader London Declaration Action Plan on climate, specifically to embed climate consideration across the board in our standard portfolio. And secondly, to involve civil society and those most vulnerable to climate change. Now, this sad chart right on the right shows some stats about the average temperatures. As you see, something is going wrong down there. So we need to act, and we need to act fast. We have engaged already several advisors working in conjunction with the committees to identify on a list of 80 or so most impactful standards that needs to be revised urgently to climate consideration that give the best possible benefit and impact in a reasonably short term, Of course, we have, as you know, 24,000 standards, and going through all of them might be cumbersome. But if you do a Pareto of them, if you take the top, most impactful standard, then it comes down to something reasonable, something we can manage. The work is in progress. We have 4 advisors now, maybe 4 more in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And they've been extremely productive already to render the result to 11 committees already. And the next time I'll be here, I want to show you ongoing revisions on this very piece of work. So I'm very proud to see that the TMB has been extremely committed in this work. In this and other areas, of course, there are others like awareness and, of course, reaching out to underrepresented stakeholders, which is another challenge that will be considered at TMB level and beyond, of course, because you can only inject meaningful climate actions in standards, both technical and management system standard, if you listen to all the stakeholders, right? Not just the, let's say, the usual suspects. So it's very important that the TMB is very much engaged in this. And again, I can tell you a lot of work has been done the last months. We are doing meaningful revision of standards, and we are accelerating on this effort. And that's our beautiful TMB team, which I'm very proud of. All right, thank you very much. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you very much. No comments from the floor, no questions. Let's thank Marco for his presentation, and we see the very important work that the TMB is doing to contribute to the growth of the, to support developing countries. Thank you. As you will have seen from the working documents, the TMB work on climate change for developing countries, and the TMB Resolution 17/2023 invites DEVCO to collaborate with this Strategic Farming Coordination Committee, given the importance of this subject area to developing countries. The action proposed to DEVCO via a resolution is to support a liaison representative and establish a connection with the CFSCC. The Secretary proposes that the DEVCO Chair Advisory Group, CAG, appoint the representative from amongst CAG members to coordinate developing countries' involvement in the CFCC. And I now invite any comments from the floor. Given no comments, we move to agenda item number 11, and we accept the TMB report. In a DEVCO meeting, the DEVCO meeting is a forum for exchange and learning from each other. This year, 4 of our members will provide us with engaging presentations on how they have connected innovation to counter one of the most pressing issues this planet faces, climate change. The solutions each member finds to counter climate change and enhance sustainability are a reminder of how standards can help overcome a wide spectrum of issues. These presentations contain learnings for all of us, so let's listen and get inspired. Our first presentation will come from Senegal, our Vice Chair.
Thank you once again, Mrs. Chair. So this presentation from Senegal will talk about sanitation, which is a critical issue on which ISO contributed in providing tools so that the humanity can tackle this critical issue. And ASN Senegal, we had the honor and the opportunity to participate in this activity along with our colleague from United States, ANSI, as twin partners. So first of all, I think we have been seeing the impact of climate change in our lives. This is an opportunity for me to have thought and prayers to our brothers and sisters in Morocco, where a severe earthquake occurred last week, but also in Libya, where floodings are having very dramatic consequences. So with this climate change effect, we are seeing manifestations as increased flooding, but also drought and water scarcity, spread of waterborne disease, malfunction of wastewater treatment system. What is happening, and especially in developing countries, is that we have a lack of sanitation system. We have a lack of sanitation system, and the small amount of sanitation system facilities that we have, when this climate change effect occurs, it just nullifies the small amount of sanitation facilities that we have. So we need to come up with solutions. Today, it is estimated that 2.3 billion people do not have access to basic sanitation system, which has as consequences, as you can see it in these pictures, people settling to open defecation, or when they have toilets, it's of a very bad quality. Sometimes when they have sanitation system, there is no treatment unit to take up the waste. So what they do is just to dump it in the nature, and which will come back and harm the population in the form of a lot of diseases. But also the lack of sanitation facilities pose a problem of dignity. I'm thinking about our sisters. In some villages around the world, women and girls have to wait until nighttime to relieve themselves, which is a natural need for humankind, and that poses problems such as security, but also their dignity is in jeopardy. And other consequences are waterborne diseases, pollution of waterways and water tables, which result in 1.8 billion people globally who are using a source of drinking water that is contaminated by fecal matter. But also we have more than 300,000 children under 5 that are dying every year, primarily from waterborne diseases. So that's why humanity had to come up with solutions that are appropriate for everyone. And the United Nations, understanding this critical issue, registered in 2013 into the Sustainable Development Goal, the SDG 6, access to clean water and sanitation, and particularly the point 6.2 and 6.3, which is aiming to achieve access to adequate and equitable sanitation and hygiene for all, but also by 2030 improve water quality by reducing pollution, eliminating dumping and minimizing release of hazardous chemicals and materials. And to do that, some scientific around the world proposed some advanced technology in the form of toilet, what we call innovative toilet, which has toilets that not only receive the wastewater from the human body, but also has the capacity to treat them on site. There is another class of technologies which are community-based that can receive, for example, when you have septic tank that can receive the waste dislodged from those septic tank, treat them, not only remove the pathogen, but also create valuable sub-products, such as ashes that can be used in agriculture or in construction, clean water, but also energy in the form of electricity. And to help those technologies better disseminate and and scale up those technologies, ISO played a huge role in putting in place international standards. And like I said, ASN, in collaboration with ANSI, the United States, we were in charge of conducting the work under the ISO PC 305, where we published the first standard on innovative toilet, ISO 30500. ISO 30500 is a technical document that contains a set of requirements for a new technology-neutral household toilet. So it's a toilet like we have in our home, but those toilets are not connected to a networked sewer or drainage system, and they have the ability to treat waste all by themselves. The second standard under the ISO PC 318 that we have developed with our colleague ANSI under the ISO PC 318 is the ISO 31800. This standard, ISO 31800, is a product standard, but this standard set requirements for a unit that can transform wastewater into clean water, ashes, like I was saying, that can be used as amendment for the agriculture or in the construction sector, but also that can produce electricity. So it primarily treats fecal sludge. They are able to operate in an off-grid and non-sewage environment, and they are prefabricated. And this standard that helped us a lot, which was first published in 2016 by the committee ISO TC 224, is ISO 24521, which is a management system standard, which gives recommendations on how to better manage a sanitation unit or domestic wastewater services in general. And in this standard, we have a set of examples of technologies and the environment where these technologies operate the best. And in Senegal particularly, this standard, adopting the ISO 24521 along with ISO 30500, helped us identify all the other technical documents, standards, or regulations that we needed to cover all the sanitation value chain. That's why we, inspired by these three standards, developed our own standard on septic tank, and we are developing other standards on basic technologies of sanitation to cover all the technical solutions that are available right now. So our partnership with ANSI was so good that even after the publication of this standard, we continued to work together. And that's why we could conduct some post-publication activities. We conducted capacity building in Senegal for government, but also sanitation private operators. But also we worked with other countries around Africa. We conducted awareness-raising workshop in Togo, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Cameroon, in Benin, and lastly in Nigeria. But also with ANSI, we conducted training in 8 French-speaking African countries on these NSS standards, which resulted to also one of our key partners, simultaneously reviewing and adopting 4 ISO non-sewage sanitation standards, namely ISO 30500, but also ISO 24521, ISO 24510, and ISO 24511. In ECOWAS as well, in West Africa, ECOWAS is the economic commission of West African states. We simultaneously reviewed and adopted as regional standard ISO 30500 and ISO 24521, and we are discussing with the ECOWAS Commission to see how we can translate this standard into the regional regulation. What I forgot to say is that we already started working with the ISO document on public policies, using the example of this non-sewerage sanitation standard. We did it in Nigeria, we are doing it in Senegal, and the aim is to do it in the ECOWAS region and in Africa in general. So the ISO 30500 was published in 2018, and last year we launched the revision of the ISO 30500. Currently, we have 26 peer members and 4 O members. The secretariat is still being administered by ANSI and ASN. And I invite all DEVCO members, because this is an issue mostly important for developing countries, to please join the work on reviewing this ISO 30500. Lastly, this nice picture that you see here, there is a lot of things that I like in the picture. First, I am in the picture. I like that. My colleagues and friends with whom we worked to develop the ISO 30500. So this was our last meeting, and as you can see, it was a very diverse technical committee. We had 48 countries from all around the world discussing, partnering, exchanging to develop this standard. Thank you very much, and I invite you to visit the website that ANSI has developed for exclusively non-sewage sanitation system standards, which is sanitation.ansi.org, where you can have a lot of resources to engage more stakeholders. Thank you very much.
We thank Abdurrahman. We have 3 more presentations, so we'll keep the questions until after the 4th presentation. We'll now invite Mr. Zau Amri from Indonesia to make his presentation.
Where's the slide? This one? Okay. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zul Amri. I'm from BISN, Indonesian Standardization Agency. I will present you about what we have done in tackling the climate change through the standardization activities. This is the illustration of the Indonesian temperatures years by years. This figure is issued by Indonesian Agency for Meteorology, Climatology and Geophysics. You can see in the picture that there is changes years by years. The colors is yes, red is representing the hot one. So Indonesian temperature now is getting hotter years by years, especially in the last few decades. And Indonesia government have a commitment to reduce the greenhouse gases 29% and to 41% without and with international support by 2030. And the main focus for this action is on the sector like energy, waste, industrial process and production use, agriculture and forestry. And Indonesia government also to commit to get the net zero emission by 2030, by 2060. BSN, through our standardization activities, trying to support our government commitment to reduce the greenhouse emission. That's why we are really happy to support the idea on London Declaration as a means to mitigate the impact of climate change. Our chair, Mr. Kuku S. Ahmad, shown our commitment to support this declaration. And so far, we have issued more than 14,000 Indonesian standard, we call it SNE. And some of the standards are in line with the UN SDGs number 13, the climate action. And in the last, I think in the last, we also, in BSN, we also align with the government commitment in the last few decades. We are also concerned about this climate change, and we produce some standard about the quantification and monitoring GHG emission. We adopted some standard from ISO, especially the ISO 14060 series, and we use this standard to support our government initiative for the new one is a carbon pricing scheme. Just in this year, in this August, our government issued about new scheme. We call it carbon pricing scheme. We support this scheme by using the ISO 14060 series standard, and we also support the government commitment with the measurement, reporting and verifying the greenhouse gases. And we also issue some standard about mitigation and adaptation. We have a lot of standard that we produce on this mitigation and adaptation. We issued more than 40 standard about electric vehicle. As now, our government very focused on developing the ecosystem of electric vehicle. We are now developing a lot of charging station. The charging station is adopting the ISO IC standard, which been adopted to be SNI, and we also developing the standard on circular economy, and we also developed some standard about sustainability. In the last since 2009, we support the initiative from Ministry of Environmental about the timber legality and sustainable forest management. I could say that all the supply chains of the timber in Indonesia is supported by the ISO standard about the traceability and about the legality. And we also support the government initiative for Indonesia sustainable palm oil. As Indonesia, one of the biggest countries that produce palm oil, we concerned about the sustainability of this product. And we also support the initiative on organic food, good aquaculture practice, and renewable energy program. And we also issued some standard about communicating on environmental performance. We issued some standard about, we call it, in Indonesia, we call it eco-labeling. This standard is adopted by Ministry of Environmental in Indonesia to introduce the products which environmental friendly. We have a lot of standard related with the product on this eco-label. And we also, of course, we have a lot of standard related to environmental management. We adopted ISO standard like 14001, 14004, and others 14,000 series standard. We have we use this standard to support the certification scheme in Indonesia, and this standard also recognized by Indonesian government, Indonesian Ministry on Energy Audit, and also for the evaluation of performance for environmental. And we also, beside our activities on standard development, we also facilitate the standard implementation as a unique function of BSN. We not only in charge on standard development, but we also take care about the standard implementation, and we also concerned about the accreditation activities in Indonesia. So through these three responsibility, we try to support our commitment, our government commitment on this climate action. And we facilitate this standard implementation by industry, especially for the SME, including the environmental standards. And we also have a regular expo about the electric vehicle standard expo. And we have also awareness on standard by dissemination, e-learning, social media, and others. I think that's all the presentation from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amory. We now invite Saw Cook Choi from Singapore to make her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sao Cook from Singapore, representing the Singapore Standards Council. And thank you for the opportunity to share on Singapore's experience on how we leverage standards to support innovation and sustainability. For those who may not know, Singapore is a small island nation situated in Southeast Asia. Our land size is slightly less than 750 square kilometers, and we have a population of about 6 million. And the national standards body of Singapore is the Singapore Standards Council, overseen by Enterprise Singapore. And this industry-led council facilitates the identification, development, promotion, and review of standards, technical reference, and workshop agreements. And this is done through partnerships with industry, academia, and government organizations under the National Standardization Program. And we also participate actively in regional standards fora, such as the ASEAN, ACCSQ, and also international standards fora, such as IEC and ISO. Singapore, like many other cities and countries, face a range of environmental challenges that affects our long-term sustainability, such as rising sea levels, urban island heat effect, and food insecurities, just to name a few. And as a very small, low-lying island city-state, with limited land and also limited natural resources, we are very vulnerable to the effects of climate change. And it is therefore crucial that we try to seek how to address all these challenges to build a more resilient, resource-efficient, and environmentally friendly city. In line with the Paris Agreement, Singapore is committed to achieve net zero emissions by 2050 and to reduce emissions to 60 million tons of CO2 equivalent by 2030. And for these reasons, we are accelerating the low-carbon transition in industry, economy, and society through 4 key thrusts. Firstly, to catalyze business transformation by helping our businesses to adapt to the changing industry landscape. For example, to shift towards a more sustainable mine sector. Secondly, to invest in low-carbon technologies. For example, in alternative fuels, to reduce carbon emission. And thirdly, adopt low-carbon technologies to improve energy efficiency. And fourthly, to pursue effective international cooperation to build a mindshare towards a more net zero future. And so for the next few slides, I'll just share some examples and initiatives that we have developed to support this key trust. Right. So in support of the Singapore Green Plan 2030 and our UN SDG goals, Singapore has developed a roadmap to try and position ourselves as one of the more leading sustainable mines destination in Asia Pacific. And in support of these, the SSC, the Singapore Tourism Board, and also our Association for Exhibition and Convention of Organizers and Suppliers came together to work with our industry stakeholders in the mines value chain to develop 2 standards, what we call workshop agreement on waste and carbon emissions management. And this workshop agreement are standards that provide very practical guidelines and also recommendations on how events, mines events can be adapted to reduce environmental impact. And so companies which have reference to these standards are changing the way they operate and also working towards building more sustainable mines events by focusing on key actions across the entire supply chain. So a recent MICE event that has adopted the standard is at Food Hotel Asia. So what the organizer did was to implement or reference the standard, and from there they came up with multiple waste management strategies. For example, introducing digital customer touchpoints, and also in terms of recycling of staging materials. So this has really enabled it to prevent 9.8 tons of waste from entering our landfill. Singapore is also located at the crossroads of East-West trade, and we are the busiest transshipment port in the world. And for this reason, we are also the leading bunkering port, where many ships stop by to refuel before continuing their journey. And in support of the move towards biofuel bunkering, as part of our efforts to decarbonize the maritime sector, we have developed a workshop agreement on specification of marine biofuel. And this standard serves to assure the maritime industry that the quality of the bunker fuel supplied in the port of Singapore, as well as provide best practices on the safe handling and storage of such bunker fuel. And to further diversify Singapore's fuel mix towards low carbon options, we are also looking into alternative fuels such as methanol and ammonia. And in support of these, the SSC is also developing relevant standards around this in anticipation of the future trends. And recently, Singapore also successfully conducted the world's first ship-to-container ship methanol bunkering operations involving a mass vessel, a container vessel. And so from the experiences as well as the safety considerations drawn from this whole operation, this is also providing insights to us in the ongoing development of the methanol bunkering standard. To increase Singapore's renewable energy mix, one option is really to consider solar energy. But in view of land scarce Singapore, we are building our solar PV systems on rooftops, but there are also limited number of rooftops. So in view of this, we considered building solar PVs over water. And so we built one of the largest inland floating solar PV systems over one of our reservoirs in 2021, generating 60 megawatts peak of electricity. And this is really equivalent to removing 7,000 cars off our roads, in terms of carbon emission reduction. And in support, and this really helped us in terms of guidance and the learnings to develop a technical reference on floating photovoltaic power plants. And this helped us in terms of paving the way for more of such facilities to be constructed over our other reservoirs as well as the sea surrounding us. For example, in Jurong Island, to supply power to our petrochemical hub. And so we are also contributing our knowledge and leading one of the IEC developments in this area. Standards also support sustainable built environment. In Singapore, buildings contribute to about 20% of our carbon emissions. So our building and construction authority developed the Singapore Green Mark, and this is really a rating system to evaluate buildings in terms of their environmental impact and performance. And this initiative is important because it really helps to promote sustainable design and also enable our buildings to be more climate responsive, energy and resource efficient, and also having a healthier indoor environments. And so we just launched the latest Singapore Green Building Master Plan in 2021, and the target is really to green 80% of our buildings by 2030. These are the suite of standards supporting the Green Mark, and we started this off as more in terms of addressing sustainability, but we found that it has also helped to create new business opportunities. So in a study done by Cushman and Wakefield, it was found that office buildings with a higher green rating can actually command a higher occupancy rate and also higher rental rates. And so this really is in the right direction because many of the tenants and companies are also looking towards sustainability and paying a bit more in terms of premium as long as they can help them in terms of achieving the sustainability goals. It's really something that speaks to the tenants. And so we found that really apart from supporting sustainability, it really helps or provide a differentiating factor for building owners in the green transition. So to further share our experiences and best practices, we recently conducted a workshop on sustainable built environment for the African region in conjunction with the Africa-Singapore Business Forum. This is a forum to facilitate business exchange and also thought leadership between Africa and Singapore. So the platform really enables the NSBs to come together to exchange our experiences and challenges, and also discuss ideas where we can look at in terms of future standardization topics. And one key takeaway from this experience is really that collective effort of all ISO members will be needed to address some of these global challenges, including climate change and sustainability. Yeah, so this marks the end of my presentation. I hope it has shed some light on how standards can support innovation and sustainability to address climate change, and also how it creates new business opportunities in the green transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Soko. Very inspiring presentation. We'll now invite Dr. Hamin Hayep to the floor to make his presentation.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, member. So I try to present my presentation as short as possible, right? Okay, I'm from, can you, next slide? Where's next slide? Here? Okay. Okay, top one, okay. Okay, so my name is Hamin Hiep, COE of STAMEC from Vietnam. So in Vietnam, our organization, we have the 1,800 technical experts. Also, we have the 23 units under STAMEC. And very luckily, we support the Prime Minister to coordinate with 14 ministry and 63 province. That is very good position to support standard in Vietnam. And from our governments, we have the several targets, but I just want to focus two, commitment. The first commitment related to how we can achieve the net zero emission by 2050. And the second commitment is how we can support the young generation for the standard. We are now preparing the law for Vietnam environmental laws. We're revising. And one of the topics is how we can environmental education for young generation. So you can see the two commitments go together. And and another thing is we have some specific programs, national programs, to support the enterprises and other organizations in my country to get the sustainability and climate change. For example, we have the Organic Agriculture Development Program. The goal is how we can achieve 2% the agricultural land for organic production in Vietnam. And another program, for example, National Energy Efficient Program to encourage enterprises to apply several ISO management related to sustainability and climate change. And until now, we have 135 national standards related on energy consumption, battery, electric vehicle, renewable energies, and almost 90% our national standard adopt with the ISO and IEC standard. We would like to thank BSI and Mr. Scott Stevens. His team have very good research, and in this research, ASEAN member states can, have comparison and can see our current state with the sustainability in ASEAN. And this picture is also good for our government. And when you see the picture, okay, you work good, please continue. If you need our support, I will. So that is very good. And from STAMEC, we engage with our government to some mission. And I list here for, priorities mission in this time. The first is we will propose to Prime Minister the developing of NQI Index of Vietnam. Yeah, with the NQI Index, we will try to contribute to SDGs. And for example, people, planet, prosperities, And standard is also one of the very important pillars in the NQI. The second is we also submit to Prime Minister the national standard strategies along with the ISO strategy. In these strategies, we focus on green roads, circular economy, agriculture, waste, and energy is our priorities, and how we can apply and use ISO standard in this strategy. Another thing is national programs. So I just want to emphasize a little bit is this program to support the enterprises to improve the productivity and quality of products. So in this program, we already have 10 years in the phase 1, and now we go to the phase 2. So past 10 years, we have the organization, the government bodies in my country, both in the central level, also in province level, they apply ISO 9000. And now we can see that 100% city and district level in Vietnam, they apply ISO 9001 in their organization. And now we try to apply ISO 18091. It's a little bit more specific for the local government and with the SDG. So the applies of this ISO will get our governmental people in central, also in local areas, can change our minds to get the quality management minds. It is very good for us to move, easier to move to the digital transformation stage and also the sustainable development. And here I just want to propose to the DEVCO 2 proposals. The first is how we can get such kind of pilot project for sustainability standardization education for young generation, not only for young professional. In our developing country, we lack of expertise and also professional, but we can get from the pool of young generation in university, college, and other education training. And another thing is how we can make the engagement of NSP with their governments. In some cases, I think that if NSP can have good cooperation with government, it's also very good. And it's better if DEVCO and also our ISO can share that experience for the government in our member family. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hammer Haib. We thank you also for those proposals. We'll definitely make notes and look into them. Okay, we have had the 4 presentations. Now we may have any comments, questions from the floor regarding these 4 presentations. Okay, then we don't have those, but you can speak at the cocktail reception, so you can ponder on these things. We will now move to agenda item number 12. We are almost at the end, and we have the DEVCO Secretary to present the resolutions for this session.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of time, I will project the DEVCO resolutions. We won't go into detail. I won't be reading the resolutions. We will be having them on the screen. As per our normal tradition, we will send the draft resolutions to all DEVCO members and open a ballot on the draft resolutions. We have the resolution thanking our President for her welcome message to us. We have a resolution where we thank Eric Wikstrom from the WTO for his keynote speech. And then the next resolution was the update that was provided to DEVCO on the APDC progress report, also thanking the donors that makes the work possible. The 4th resolution that you see on the screen, thanking the Special Advisor to the President, Mr. Edin Njoroge, for the hard work in helping us to diversify our donor funding. The 5th resolution ladies and gentlemen, was the 2 updates we had from the co-convener of DEVCO Working Group 1, Mr. Peter Sissons, and then the report by the DEVCO Vice Chair, the convener of the SMART Working Group, and the key messages that they had to DEVCO. Peter urged us to please make experts available, and Abdurrahman asked for the continued collaboration between the DEVCO SMART Working Group and the other groups working on the SMART program. With respect to our 6th draft resolution, we noted the importance of the circular economy, the discussion between the 3 PDC chairs, and encouraging the continued close collaboration between the 3 PDCs. This collaboration is really valuable. The next resolution on the screen relates to the TMB. My colleague Marco gave us a very lively and interesting presentation and overview of what the TMB is doing with specific interest to developing countries. And then on the basis of Marco's presentation, Julia made a proposal to DEVCO that was accepted, that the DEVCO Chairs Advisory Group should nominate a representative for the Smart Farming Coordinating Committee. The next draft resolution was relating to the 4 excellent presentations that we just had now from Senegal, from Zul Amri, from our member in Indonesia, BSN, Sal Cook from Singapore, and then of course Dr. Ayep from our member in Vietnam, Stomach. And I must say, I really found your 4 presentations really interesting, how you take the work that happens internationally and connects that and applies that in response to your national challenges, your national strategies. And please, we don't have the time this evening, but reach out to our 4 presenters and speakers over the next few days and ask them about the experiences, the challenges that they had. And then the last resolution I'm going to park for now, because that is an activity that still needs to happen, and that relates to thanking our Secretary General for what he will do in a few minutes' time. But as I mentioned, colleagues, the draft resolutions will be forwarded to you for balloting as per our normal tradition. And with Chair, I'll pause with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Eric. But we are at this stage in our session where we're looking at the dates of the next meeting. So we invite Eric, date and place of the next meeting, to tell us about where this will be. Eric, the 58th meeting of DEVCO.
Thank you, Chair. The next meeting of DEVCO will be taking place a year from now, September in Colombia. And details of that will be communicated in due course to all DEVCO members. Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues, and thank you, Eric. We had not received any proposals prior for any other business item, and therefore we'll move to our final agenda item and invite the Secretary General, Sergio Mojica, the ISO Secretary General, to give his closing remarks. He's on his way to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you all for inviting me to share a few thoughts with you at the end of this very exciting meeting. Developing countries, the job of this committee is something very close to my heart, and I feel very inspired, really, by all the success stories that I have heard today. And I believe the key question was made by Eric Kick. It's the why. Why are we here today? And I think that this committee is really essential for ISO to deliver on our value proposition and also to deliver on our strategy. In terms of the value proposition, we say that we provide global solutions to global challenges. And the only way to be truly global is by mobilizing the entire community. And of course, it's not only about creating standards that are perfect from a technical point of view, it's also about following the right process. Because with our standards, we ensure that we make decisions by consensus, we do it in a transparent manner, with the right level of inclusivity, and of course, giving a voice to developing countries. So that's about the value proposition. Then about our strategy, because this morning, we were very clear when we said that our vision is not only our commitment, but it's also our responsibility. And we're talking about making people's life easier, safer, and better. And that is our responsibility to the world. For that, we have a goal, a strategic goal, which is all voices heard. And we have 124 developing countries out of 167 ISO members. So it's quite a challenge. It's quite a task to give a voice to our 124 developing countries. And then we have a dedicated priority, which is provide support to our members through capacity building. But to do that, we need to create the infrastructure to take the right decisions and to deliver on those decisions. And all of that begins with this meeting, with DEVCO, with the governance dimension. But that needs to be complemented with very concrete plans, and that's why we have the action plan for developing countries. And of course, we need to have a need-based approach. We deliver our solutions, our support, based on what you have expressed as your main needs. So that's the why. Through capacity building, we can deliver on our value proposition and on our strategy. But then it's the how. We also need the how. So what is it what we offer to our members and to the world through capacity building? First, concrete tools to provide or to create organizational development. And some of these concrete tools are the GSP, Good Standardization Practice. With that, we collect best practice and for you to create a diagnostic and then create your own plans to continue growing your organizations. Leadership and management development. At the end of the day, it's all about people. We need to support you, our leaders, so you can guide your organizations. Then the development of national standardization strategies, something that was mentioned with all clarity this morning during our strategy cafe. And also to identify the key competences that our leaders, our staff need to have. So, number one, organizational development. Number two, giving a voice. And for that, we have our sponsorship program where experts from developing countries can participate in the technical activities of the organization. This is not only about buying a ticket or hotel accommodation, it's also giving the proper training to make it count, to make that participation a very relevant and valuable one. And the third element is through supporting the implementation of key standards. We keep saying standards are essential for economic and social development. And we have a portfolio of 25,000 standards. We cannot do everything at the same time. So once again, we come back to you asking for your needs through this survey. Then 80% of our members respond to that survey. So what are the areas where we are supporting the members to the implementation of key standards? Energy management, food safety, sustainability, conformity assessment, which is the way through which we demonstrate compliance with open markets, and mentioned by WTO, Eric, this morning. And finally, in the how is the resources. So a big thank you to Eddie Njoroge for helping us to identify new sources for funding the Action Plan for Developing Countries and to increase our level of sustainability in our capacity building activities. And also a big thank you to our donors, SIDA from Sweden. We've been working with them from the very beginning of our Action Plan for Developing Countries, as well as PTB from Germany and DFAT from the host country, Australia. In conclusion, capacity building and DEVCO are about the effectiveness of our organization, our capacity to deliver on our commitments, number one. Second, by being here, you make a service to the organization because you enable our relevance. So thank you for that service. And number three, I want to recognize first our leadership, Julia, Abdurrahman, for guiding us through these very important deliberations. And of course, Eric and our very passionate capacity building team in Geneva and here in Brisbane. So it's combining all our talents that we can be effective as an international organization. Thank you so much.
So, thank you, Sergio, for your instructive closing remarks and for joining us today. I wish every success for the rest of the week for this ISO annual meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, together we achieve. Take the first step, use the standards, collect data, get involved as we move towards a sustainable future. We thank you for participating in the 57th DEVCO meeting. Thereafter, now, a global survey will be issued, subject to you to complete after this meeting. Your feedback is highly valued, so I invite you to please take a bit of time and complete that survey. With that, I declare the meeting closed. Goodbye, and enjoy the rest of the evening and the rest of the week. Thank you.